Rachel and Mark were never supposed to be on Black Hollow Road. What was meant to be a peaceful weekend getaway became the beginning of a nightmare. After missing a turn deep in the backwoods of Pennsylvania, their GPS froze. No signal, no signs, just endless forest pressing in from both sides. Then they saw it, a crooked wooden sign, barely hanging by rusted bolts. It read, Black Hollow Road. The road narrowed as they drove further, the trees clawing at the car like they wanted it to stay. And then, through the mist and branches, a house appeared, old, rotten, towering over the trees like a tombstone. One flickering lantern glowed in a dusty window, like it had been waiting for them. Mark laughed nervously. Rachel didn't. Something about the place felt wrong, and yet they kept driving forward, because some roads don't take you somewhere, they take you in. They approached the house, unsure if they should knock, but before they could, the door creaked open. An old woman stood there, motionless, pale. Her face was expressionless, like a statue carved from wax. She said nothing, just stared. Then, without a word, she stepped aside. Inside, the house was even stranger. The air was thick with dust, and something rotten. The wallpaper peeled like skin. The lights flickered, as if the walls were breathing. On every wall, paintings, eyes without faces, children without mouths, houses floating upside down. Finally, the woman spoke. Her voice was low, hollow, like it hadn't been used in years. You'll want to stay the night. The road doesn't let people leave after dark. Mark gave a nervous laugh. Rachel didn't. Something in her gut told her this was a place people entered, but didn't leave. Mark stepped into the hallway. But something was wrong. Every door looked the same. The floor creaked beneath him, but the sound echoed in all directions, like the house was listening. He opened one door and found his own room again. He walked further down the hall, opened another, still his room. The hallway twisted subtly, like it was breathing. Walls seemed to pulse. Doors flickered, appearing, vanishing. Rachel, he called out. No answer, just silence, and then a whisper. His name, from behind a door that wasn't there a second ago. He turned and saw something at the far end of the hall. A tall shadow, featureless, watching, unmoving. He took a step forward. The lights flickered once, and suddenly he was standing at the beginning of the hallway again. The house was looping, and it wasn't going to let him go. The old clock struck midnight. A long, slow chime echoed through the house, and Rachel woke with a jolt. Something was scratching under her bed. She leaned over the side, slowly reached her hand down, and felt something cold. It moved. In the blink of an eye, it grabbed her wrist. She screamed and stumbled backward, slamming the lamp on. The room was empty. Nothing under the bed. No one there. But the mark on her arm was real. A red imprint. Long fingers wrapped around her skin. Down the hall, Mark heard his name. But it wasn't Rachel's voice. It was his mother's. Gentle, familiar. But she had been dead for 3 years. He followed the sound deeper into the house. The voice turned to a whisper, then a scream, and then nothing. The silence was worse than any sound. They found it in the room at the end of the hall. A tapestry, massive, old, and alive with detail. Woven into its threads were stories. People standing at the edge of the forest. Families walking into the house. Children playing on the porch. And one by one, each figure on the tapestry grew still. Their eyes faded until they were only shadows, stitched in time. Mark stepped closer, his breath caught in his throat. In the center of the tapestry, 2 new figures had just appeared. A man and a woman, their eyes wide, their faces full of fear, and they looked exactly like him and Rachel. Rachel backed away. This can't be real, she whispered. But as the candles flickered, the figures in the tapestry turned their heads, just slightly, enough to know they were watching. The house wasn't just remembering, it was recording, and now had remembered them. Time had stopped making sense. Mark ran down the hallway, but each turn brought him right back where he started. The lights above flickered, not in rhythm, but like a dying heartbeat. He passed a window. Outside, it was still night, but the moon was frozen in the same spot. Rachel tried to call to him, but her voice echoed back, delayed and wrong, like someone else was repeating her words a second too late. He looked at her. She stood still, and then she flickered. For a brief moment, she was transparent, like a ghost caught between two frames of reality. All around them, the house creaked and bent, walls shifted, doors vanished, clocks floated in midair, their hands spinning in opposite directions. A voice whispered in Mark's ear, "You've already been here. You never left." The house wasn't just haunted, it was a trap, a loop, feeding on memory and time. At the heart of the house, they found it. The room that wasn't on any blueprint. No windows, no doors, just stone and silence. In the center, a ritual circle. Bones, melted candles, symbols older than language itself. Rachel whispered, "This is where it ends." Mark didn't ask how she knew. He felt it too. They stepped into the circle, and the shadows came, pale, silent figures surrounding them, watching, not angry, just hungry. Above them hung a cracked mirror, and in its reflection, they saw themselves dead, lifeless, eyes wide, mouths open, in a silent scream. And yet, they were still breathing. Mark tried to speak, but the room swallowed his voice. Then came the final whisper, "Stay." Like the others, the candles burned low, the shadows closed in, and the mirror cracked. One last time, the house had claimed them. Morning came, but no one left the house. No one ever does. Black Hollow Road is empty now, except for the wind and the silence. The house still stands, watching, waiting, feeding. In the upstairs window, the lantern still burns, just like it did for those before, just like it will for those yet to come. A new sign sits by the roadside. Fresh paint, "Do not enter." But someone always does. They think they're just lost, just passing through. But the house, it remembers, and one day, it might remember you.